Hello, it's us again, the rocker, headbanger, and an oddball. And this is the first in what I hope will be a series of videos looking at the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth album releases by a band or artist. But why those seemingly random choices? Well, the usually excellent debut and tricky second albums are out of the way, and by the third release, most bands have survived that difficult early period and are settled down to make what, in my opinion anyway, are their like core releases. The sound is established, songwriting is in the groove, pardon the pun, and with more studio experience, the band can kind of relax more and produce, a fine body of work. And this series is also inspired by the excellent Peter Sco's Music as a Journey channel and his first 10 albums by a band series. Anyway, to kick the series off, I've picked one of mine and Peter's most favourite bands, Judas Priest, and we'll have a look at Sin After Sin and Stained Class from 1977, Killing Machine from 78, and then the 1980 release of the utter classic that is British Steel. I'm not counting live albums in this, series. So Unleashed in the East does not appear. Anyway, following their first two releases, that'll be Rock-A-Roller and Sad Wings of Destiny, the core lineup of Rob Halford, KK Downing, Ian Hill and Glenn Tipton was joined by Simon Phillips on drums for Sin After Sin, and only for one album, I think. The opener, Sinner, it's pure Priest, and you'll hear that phrase a lot in this video, and has been a staple of the live set ever since it's released. Soaring guitars coupled with Halford's falsetto are to the fore here, really, and it sets us up for more to come. Diamonds and Rust is a heavied up cover, if you will, of the Joan Baez original. Strange choice for a metal band maybe, but Priest do carry it off with some aplomb. In Starbreaker, we see Simon Phillips really show off his chops with a short but sweet drum solo for its finale. And then in Let Us Pray / Call to the Priest, Simon again shows off his double bass drum skills with some quite rapid footmongery. Should we call it that? Yeah. There are two ballads on the album. Yeah, Priest did do ballads and do really well, in the shape of Last Rose of Summer and Here Come the Tears. And in Dissident Aggressor, Priest turn it right up to that mythical 11. The sound and production are quite sublime too, with a great heavy rounded sound. The album was produced by Deep Purple's Welsh-born bassist and Brecon boy Roger Glover. Their fourth release, Stained Class, had a tricky job in following Sin After Sin, and in large part, I think anyway, fails to match up to it. Now, there are some great highlights though, don't get me wrong, in the opener, Exciter, and then Pure Priest. I think I said it again, in Invader, Savage and Hero's End. Exciter was the live opener for a while after its release, but there were rumours that it was dropped after Dave Holland joined the band, as he couldn't play it fast enough. I'm sure that's not true. White Heat Red Hot is perhaps an insight into Rob Halford's struggles as he sought, I think, to hide his sexuality. And in Better By You, Better Than Me, Priest continued in their inclusion of a cover song. Now, this was originally released by Spooky Tooth, but the Priest version gained notoriety for allegedly containing subliminal messages that led two friends to sadly take their own lives in the US. The band were cleared after a court case, but the song is now shrouded, sadly, in sadness. The high point, the peak, if you will, of the album, though, comes in the shape of Beyond the Realms of Death. 7 minutes of pure Priest perfection, penned, in part at least, by new drummer Les Binks. It's like Priest's Bohemian Rhapsody, a song of many parts, telling of the struggle faced by people suffering with depression or maybe dementia, and the eventual release and peace that death brings. It's a song that's become, again, a staple of the band's live set, and is also regularly performed by KK's Priest when they play live. For me, though, the album, produced by Dennis McKay and James Guthrie of Pink Floyd fame, suffers from a thin sound, really, unbecoming of a band as heavy as Priest. The same cannot be said of the next release, Killing Machine or Hellbent for Leather in the US. Guthrie's sound on this album is far, far heavier and fuller, a real sonic onslaught on your ears. Now, this was the first studio album by Priest that I bought, and their performance of Take on the World on Top of the Pops was my, David Bowie / Mick Ronson moment. After seeing and hearing it, I realised I really found the music I loved, and that would shape my teenage years and all those years beyond. The album opens with a really strong track in Delivering the Goods and continues in the same vein with, to my mind, not a weak track on the whole record. In Rock Forever and Running Wild, Priest goes all heavy metal pop with catchy riffs and lyrics to boot. I think this was kind of Rob Halford's coming out record too, with him wearing his heart very much on his sleeve in tracks like Hellbent for Leather, Evil Fantasies and the titular Killing Machine. The by now traditional cover track and ballad in the shape of Peter Green's The Green Manalishi with a two-pronged crown and Before the Dawn, respectively. My only criticism of the record is that there is no epic recording like Beyond the Realms of Death, Sinner or Victim of Changes from Sad Wings of Destiny. And that lack of an epic continued on the band's next release, and the last one we'll have a look at, British Steel. Now, this album has quite rightly had praise heaped on it from all directions. You could say this was their real breakthrough album, if you like, catapulting the band into the rock stratosphere, and with hits like Living After Midnight, United, You Don't Have to Be Old to Be Wise, and Breaking the Law, giving them access into the mainstream pop world too. All those tracks charted either here in the UK or the US and all around the world, and it seemed that the band were on top of the pops virtually every other week. And that was no bad thing, with the new wave of British heavy metal truly kicking off, with bands like Iron Maiden and Saxon also benefiting from increased exposure. But this album isn't just a commercial hit-making machine. Far from it, with tracks like Rapid Fire, Metal Gods and Steeler giving it that pure Priest, there it is again, experience. Delivering the goods, you might say. Oh, sorry. Dave Holland replaced Les Binks on drums for this record, and his drumming on Steeler is among my favourite in his time in the band. There was another newcomer on the record too, with Tom Allom breaking his duck with the band before going on to produce many of their future releases. This album also broke the trend of there being a cover and a ballad on it, but I can forgive them that for writing and including my all-time favourite Judas Priest song on the record. What is it, you might ask yourself? Well, it's The Rage. Another song seeing Rob pin his colours to the mast, shall we say. Opening with Ian Hill's hauntingly sublime bass line before Dave Holland chips in with his sharp, snappy snare, punctuating the beat, and an almost reggae-like guitar teasing us before the song really opens up into a feast of pure Priest. Sorry, but it is at their most heaviest. And there we have it, the middle order in cricket terms of Judas Priest releases. Now, I love them all, and it would be impossible, I think, to narrow them down to some sort of compilation. I mean, what would you actually leave out? Anyway, that is it for this first one in this series. Who shall we do next, I wonder? But until next time, be nice. Ta-ra.